Welcome to the EnsoReal Paradigm Shifters podcast. This show is for and about entrepreneurs who work to improve and expand our human well-being by bringing cutting-edge technologies and ideas to life. We are Marie and Magnus Dahlgren, your hosts. In this episode, we talk to Reinold Singel. Reinold is an expert in systemic growth and positive change. He is CEO and founder of Enaliss, a company that works to harmonize technology and humans. And now, here's our conversation with Reinold Singel.
My name is Marie, as you know. Here's Magnus. He's my husband and co-host of our podcast.
The co-host.
Yes, and we're very happy to have you today here with us. And let's start.
Very good. Yes, please, let's do this.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. But first of all, a few words about our podcast. We started it not so long ago, but the idea of this podcast is to unite people who shift old paradigms in many different ways and in different areas. Entrepreneurs who are shifting paradigms. So it's coaching and virtual reality and medicine and even healing and so on and so forth. So
very interesting. Yeah,
yes.
Thank you for inviting me. But I think that fits then absolutely, because you are talking about healing topics and changing the game topics. And that is really what I do in my business as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And first of all, my first question for you, so our listeners could know a little bit more about you, how would you want to be introduced today to our listeners?
Well, as I mentioned in the answering the pre-interview questions, I'd say I'm kind of an expert in systemic growth. What does it mean? Business is all about growth, right? So if you do not grow, you die. That is a common knowledge in business. And running my own company, I know why there's such a saying. And so growth is not everything in life, but a systemic alignment between your, I'd say, life vision and your vision for career or the vision of a company you are working for. That alignment and that harmonization, that is very, very important. And especially in the speed of change in digital transformation. If you do not consider that, you won't succeed in this world anymore. And that is what we face. Sorry, I'm answering a little bit more than your first question.
That's
already heading into the details. But so yeah, to answer that, I'd just say I'm an expert in motivational change or motivational training and consulting, plus systemic growth kind of thing.
Systemic growth. And you work with businesses, right? Or
yes, with companies, both larger corporations. We call them the end clients as well as the vendors.
What are the most frequent requests from your business clients do you have?
They have issues transforming their own people who are working in go-to-markets to align them to the new world of digital transformation and to exactly this systemic approach of growth. They do not use these terms. They just say, my sales team doesn't work anymore. Or we have a new digital technology, we have a new cloud service, but we were used to on-prem business and other services, on-premise services. And so even the experienced people in my business, they do not really know how to set up a good and an both efficient and effective go-to-market model for this new cloud service we are offering. So can you please help us training my people? What does it mean to sell this cloud service? And can you motivate them and give them a little mind shift? And that is what I mentioned with disrupting their mind a little bit in a way that they know adapting new habits will help them to thrive again and to both serve in a good way as well as earning money in a good way, because we serve well, we earn money in a good way, like talking about commission topics and stuff like that.
Yes, thank you very much. Would you share with us your strangest talent, please? How do you think? Strangest talent?
Talent. Oh, the strangest. It is really feeling people. I'd say it's feeling people. If I step into a room, I feel immediately the energies of people. That is a strange talent, because if you, especially in Germany, if you are talking about energies, they think you are kind of a weird guy. And but the truth is that I feel energies of people and immediately know the frequencies and vibrations they are dealing with within themselves. And that is the talent I have, that I from there can change their mind and their approach to their work as well, in alignment to their personal life. And that is, I'd really say this is the biggest talent. And I have some good comments here and there from some mentees that are exactly giving me this proof point to my ability to just put things in words, and how to explain things is totally changing their view or viewpoint on some topics, and from there their mind shift starts, and that is pretty fast.
Yeah.
I have one story. I can tell that later maybe, but one story is really interesting in business, especially. I could share that later or now. I don't know.
You can share now. That's absolutely okay. Yes.
Okay. So this story is about one of my clients. I'm training one key account manager of one client and one enterprise account manager, where the management team gave up on them. And they gave it a last chance by asking me to transform them within themselves, so to give them a mind shift and to give them a last chance to change before finding other consequences. I trained them, and with one I knew I will only take 2 or 3 weeks that the change and the transformation will start. And they didn't believe in the beginning. And then the change started exactly in week 2. And with the second one, they really gave up on him. And I said, this is such a complicated case because he has unbelievably strong fences around him. So he's kind of
armor.
Covering himself behind really, really strong walls. So it was very difficult to get any connection to himself. And I thought it will take at least the scheduled 6 weeks training period for him, twice a week, that he will change. Or it might take the full 6 weeks. And still, I mentioned, I do not know whether I am able to do this. And this guy changed in week 2 a little. So he opened in week 2. And in week 4, he had a totally new mind shift and energy and trust in himself and motivation to do what he was asked for to do. And suddenly he scheduled a meeting with a CIO of so Chief Information Officer, highest decision maker in IT of one bigger company, and that was almost impossible. If you saw him in the beginning, it was almost impossible. And he honestly mentioned in week 2, you know what, I'm really, really nervous about that thing. I'm leaving here my comfort zone, which I absolutely do not want. And I don't think I have any worth and benefit for this guy I'm calling. And so that was really difficult to change him and his viewpoint, and to give him a totally different view on what he's doing. And so, but this was really successful in week 2, 3, 4.
And thank you for sharing. I'm wondering, how do you do this change, this transformation? Is it about energy only, or what you're working with in such cases? Values, maybe, or self-image? What is this?
No, it's so the beginning is always has to do with energies, because on the energy level, I feel the balance how to interact with people.
Mm-hmm.
So my English is not the best English. I'm not native. Sorry for that. And I never lived in the UK or in the United States, so it's just to be honest, my school English plus a little bit experience. So so the balance of how to interact with people in a either tough way or this very soft opening way, this is, I'd say, a topic of energies, because when you feel the energies and the frequencies he's vibrating on, then I can know what will be absolutely too tough in terms of will raise blockades, and what will more open him. And I made some further education with Professor Boyatsis in the United States. There is an online program he established in psychological change and organizational change and cognitive science, where I learned the questioning techniques of how to open people, right? Yeah. So, but the first thing is this talent that I can feel that. And today I have it consciously, not only subconsciously, because before I had this education, I had it subconsciously, but I couldn't explain people why. Today I can explain. If you go into such a study and further education, then you have techniques that you use to open the people, instead of asking, so how many meetings did you have this week? You know, that is immediately raising blockades. But if you ask, well, can I help you with maybe, is there a special case in your situation this week where I can help you? Do you need support from my side? I'm a manager. Do you need support? Do we need to ask more pre-sales resources to support you and stuff like that? That is, he really wants to help me. This is a totally different dialogue that you're dealing with. Yeah.
That's interesting. You act like a corporative healer.
Right.
Interesting. And when did you decide, or I think yes, when did you decide that you can implement your talent of feeling energies in your profession? When did you make this decision?
I was quite nervous in the beginning when I knew about these topics. As I mentioned years ago, I had this in my subconscious knowledge, but I couldn't explain it. I couldn't talk about it. So, and when I first time heard about such topics, I knew I have such talent. I knew it, but of course, all my surrounding, my family, I grew up in a very doctrinative, can I say so? Doctrinative, like huge
traditional
doctrine, traditional, conservative environment, like a very Christian, tough environment. And when I started to talk about such things, of course, I changed honestly as well. I need to leave some friends, and and so I was quite nervous talking about such things, because I was disappointed as well by friends and things, because I was so convinced about what that I suddenly had conscious knowledge about what I felt since childhood, that of course my environment changed a little bit, not a little bit, really a lot. And it was tough with my wife as well, talking about these topics. She talked about devil's topics and and all these things. I'm on a totally bad way and stuff like that. But suddenly I saw during the further education that even psychology is always dealing with such topics, and this is a common knowledge of today's psychology. It's really interesting. So it was better. But I think I didn't answer your question, did I?
Not really.
You asked me when I
When did you make this decision that I have to implement my talent in my profession to heal people, to help them?
I made the decision for myself, not to be published, but for myself, I made the decision kind of 1.5 years ago, because I was already for 3 years now, I'm establishing my own business. But in the beginning, I worked as a freelancer and insurance manager. And then I wanted to change that. I wanted to establish my own business consultancy using these techniques and this systemic approach as well. But in the beginning, I didn't talk. Even 1.5 years, I didn't talk about that. I just started a new project, and within the project, I used these techniques and I asked these questions, and the people asked me, "What are you doing here? Why are you are so different?" and stuff like that. And then I opened myself and talked a little bit more about that. And then, honestly, even today, I'm mainly talking about systemic change and within digital transformation, either for technology vendors, helping them with their sales and go-to-market, or even talking with the end client about innovation workshops, for example, how to implement such new technology and how to systemically align people within the superorganism of a corporate, how to align these over different departments. But honestly, yes, I'd say I started to use it 1.5 years ago. I'm more and more openly talking about it, but I do not have a business concept that I'm sending out to the market yet talking about healing energies. I do not do. I'm talking about systemic change.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your response. And you said that you established your business 3 years ago, right? You started.
Yes.
And what are the plans for the future? How do you envision your business in 5 years from now, for instance? What is your vision?
So my vision, honestly, is to be on stage quite often, especially in Germany, because the German market is, talking about these topics, the German market is very much behind other markets. So if you go to Eastern Europe, for example, you can much easier openly talk about such topics than in Germany, because in Germany we are pretty brain-driven people, engineers and so on and so on. If you are talking about frequencies, vibes, whatsoever you call it, they think you are really weird, and they rather distance from you instead of aligning and connecting to you again. That is why we need to use a very, very sensitive language. Can I say so? We need to be sensible with the language we use. But in 5 years from now, I will be on stage, even talking openly about these topics, especially in combination with digital transformation. And for example, there's a bigger Cloud Expo Europe in Frankfurt in November, and I was invited for a panel discussion within some pretty important people in the German IT space. Yeah. So it will start in November, honestly, to be more on stage and more on stage. There was an Austrian magazine asking me, funnily parallel to you, asking me about having an interview. They have interviews with startup entrepreneurs who are in digital topics. Yeah.
Interesting. And how do you envision this combination of digital world, of digital technologies, innovative technologies like clouds, like internet, like virtual reality and energies? Is there any combination of those two topics? Because for me, I would like to combine them too, by the way, but still there is a little bit of gap in between them. So how do you think what could be done?
So I hope I got the question right. So how I combine the digital technologies with this healing topic, right?
Right.
Where's the harmonization? How can we talk about this? So it's of course difficult, but to be a bit pushy, to like knock at the heads of some people, I just say your IQ has been digitally replaced, and that is what you can find on my homepage as well. This is this digital brain that is on my homepage as one slider there, and this there's a big slogan like this: your IQ has been digitally replaced.
Relax.
And then I regularly ask, did you know that? And then the answer is, how do you train your EQ, emotional quotient? And that is exactly what we are doing here when we talk about energies and all these things. It only has to do with the EQ instead of IQ, and that's it. It's as simple as that. And that is an easy entry point for this further discussions on healing, on energies, on frequencies, on vibes, name it. That is an easy entry then, because then they start thinking, yes, you are right, because we have artificial intelligence already in place, in LinkedIn, in Facebook, in wherever you go today. We have artificial intelligence and machine learning in the background. We use that already. And it's a common thing. The people think it's not common. Even IT service management, like ticketing systems, are using. There's a new startup in Munich in Germany who has an artificial intelligence and machine learning program that is giving support, and is a new IT service management system. And this will be the future. And then when this is the case, and we are interacting with robots and bots and machines wherever we do business, then we need another talent. And this other talent has to do with the EQ instead of IQ. So yeah, and there's the alignment of digital technology and energies and healing topics, because the humans, we are talking about societies who are overrun by new technologies and digital transformation, but we need to help the people getting loose of fear and knowing about more topics. For example, I over the last 3 years made a lot of telepathic experience. So I really was in direct connection by my thoughts with other people. If you tell others about this, and these people whom you are talking to have not experienced with this, then they really think you are totally crazy, totally mad. But the people who have experience like this, like my mother-daughter topics, and they read stories or read stories, or they have their own experience, then they understand that it is not so complicated. But I made really weird experience, like such real experience. You cannot explain these really. When I woke up, though, I had a flight mode in my mobile, and I had I heard the sound of my mobile that I'm getting some information, like SMS or WhatsApp. And I woke up and I looked at my mobile, and it was switched off. It was on flight mode. And then I opened it, and I got exactly the 2 SMS I heard. And I woke up from these things, and all these things. It is really, really strange to talk about these topics.
That's interesting. And how do you deal with this misunderstanding of your talent from people? Because you said that there were a lot of people who chose to distance their selves from you. So how do you deal with this?
I learned not to talk too much about it, honestly.
Okay.
So I'm still hiding it a little bit. I publish it in Facebook, these topics, or I get into discussions with some people in Messenger, because the people, when they read through my profile, they see a little bit of these things, and then they ask me. But in my real business, for example, I'm very, very selective with whom I'm talking what.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, in 5 years, I want to openly talk about that on stage, on some different, maybe even digital transformation fairs, bigger events. But today, I'm testing the market a little bit, honestly. I'm carefully choosing with whom I open myself a little bit more in these directions. And I learned how to ask people questions where you then see, do they have experience or not? But that was a training period of at least 2 years where I tapped into potholes as well and fell down on my nose because I negatively surprised people because I openly just talked about the topics. Today, I learned to be more sensitive, even with the person I'm talking to, because I first want to get to know the viewpoint of that person and step into his position and or her situation and ask techniques to analyze where does the person stand, where is her or his knowledge about these things, and then softly open him and open a discussion into this direction. Softly, but not too far.
I see. Thank you.
Have you met anybody who has talents similar to yourself?
Yes, different. Yes. I met different people. I had closer relationships or not so close relationships, and I'm in contact. I'm still in contact. Yeah, with these people. Yes.
And
yes.
Do you have to be near them to be in contact with them, or do you have to be physically near these people? Or is it a communication that or connection that can go a long distance?
Beyond space.
Oh yeah. The connection it doesn't have to do with distance. It doesn't matter. So if you are connecting with people on this energy level, it can be a person. I'm in Germany, sitting in Germany. It can be you in the United States. It can be a person in Australia. It doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
And it is on totally other levels. It doesn't have to do with time and distance. It doesn't have. Talking about time, that is interesting, yeah. Because honestly, even time doesn't matter. You know?
Yeah.
Okay. In what sense does time not matter? Is it not?
So with my conscious being and my brain, I'm in the here and now talking about time as well. But if you connect with people, the time is not relevant anymore. So you can connect with people whether they are here or not, whether they are, honestly, to mention that, whether they are incarnated or not. So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So on a soul level, talking on a soul level, you can connect with different souls, different.
Well, maybe if time is not a factor, then the souls are timeless. It doesn't matter if they're past souls or future souls. They're just souls.
That is what I want to say. Because if you talk about healing topics and from a psychological aspect, you can heal even relationships with souls, like your relatives that died already. That is what I want to say. And if you have such experience and you make such experience, then this is changing your own game as well. The peace that you get within yourself, if there is something, not every person has, at least consciously has topics like that need to be healed. But some people have, and some people do not know how to deal with it. And even psychologists and therapists do not always know about these topics. And that is why we are talking about healing on energy levels instead of talking about a psychological therapist visit, right? So that is the difference. Yeah.
Yes, it's a very big difference, I would say.
Yeah.
Is it possible that there's one common soul and we all have a piece of that common soul, or we all are tapped into that common soul?
Interesting. Honestly, I do not know. I don't know.
Okay.
I do not have a clear statement to that at the moment. I know we all are connected with every being. Could be a tree, an animal, a stone. My desk here. If I love my desk, I'm vibrating on a frequency where I have a better, a better connection at least, right? So We are all connected through frequencies, and that is even proved by science, by physics. That is being proved. Stephen Hawking was in these topics as well. He has some publications about that. So it's not so for a scientist, physical scientist. Can I say so? A scientist in physics. It is not so weird when I talk about such topics. But for a normal friend, it might be very, very difficult to understand or talk about this. So talking about the divine or the source or the force that is creating, the creative force, God maybe, from this viewpoint, when we manifest in our lives things with our heart because we are vibrating on a passionate level, we are passionate about something, then we are manifesting already something in this direction. And when we do so, and it might be even my own child that I manifested when I, with love, asked my son, for example, to step into our lives, I exactly knew that process, and I manifested that in this situation. But if you are establishing a company and you're passionate about something, you are manifesting something, and you are kind of the creator for this thing. So on this level, we are, of course, a part of this force or this divine or this source. There are so many names for this, but we are, of course, part of it. And if we know more about this with our conscious level, not only subconsciously, then we are on a pathway where we know we are responsible for our own life and for everything we manifest in our life. And that is fantastic, honestly.
Yes, it is. And do you practice meditation or yoga? Or maybe you have other daily routines?
Yeah, meditation in different ways. Like, I do not have time at the moment, working 14, 15 hours a day at the moment, honestly. My only break is the weekend, at least 1.5 days at the weekend, doing other things. But establishing the own company, I'm working quite a lot. So what I do is I was at London Real. I don't know whether you know London Real.
Yes, we know.
There's a course program called Life Accelerator, and I have been in the Life Accelerator of London Real, and I learned some techniques like active meditation, which is balancing me and giving me my own middle immediately within 5 minutes, and that is what I regularly use. I have other topics like gratefulness every day, gratefulness sessions. And of course, I have breathing techniques like breathing meditation and other subliminal reprogramming of my brain that I'm using as well. Partly during night, especially during work days, because I'm not sleeping at the house with my family during work days. I have another flat so that I focus totally on my business and my own progression as well during work days. And that is nicely covered since January this year, as we have some help in our household through how do you call it? Au pair. Au pair. Do you know this term?
Yes.
Yeah. So everything's good, and I'm using these meditation techniques, different ones. Yeah.
Thank you. It's very interesting. And from my experience, people who made their way into coaching and healing, they usually came from absolutely other background. So my question is, what is your background?
Yeah, my biggest talent and where I stepped into the business world was really sales. So I'm a salesperson in IT, information technology. So I worked for companies like, may I say that in this podcast? Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
sure.
Like for companies like Dell Computer. I worked for a huge software company. It's called BMC. It's focusing on IT service management. One of the 10 biggest software companies still in the market, in the global markets, and so other technology vendors.
And why did you decide to start your own business? Why not to continue to work
Because,
for these companies?
yeah, very simple answer to that question. Because I knew that the sales I learned is not the sales we need in the future. There's much more we need to know about if we want to succeed in sales in the future and go-to-market models, especially due to digital transformation. And that is this systemic approach, systemic sales, systemic go-to-market, systemic digitalization. This is all about systemic topics. And by the way, and funnily, CIOs, even within Germany, talk about these topics, this systemic approach. They call it systematic instead of systemic. But they know more and more that this transformation succeeds when the people are behind that new initiative. And they say 80% of the new innovative projects succeed only when the people are aligned to it. So they are talking about it already, though they do not know about this systemic approach, how to deal with this systemic approach.
And can you share a little bit more with our listeners and with us too, what does this mean, this systemic approach? So, because we keep learning about this, but I would like to know a little more detail.
So in psychology, you use this term in a different way than in organizational change. I try to establish this systemic digital transformation topic within the markets, where I say this systemic approach is an approach where you align all affected people through all affected departments within the super organism of a corporation. Because every company is a corporation and has different departments. And whether this company has all knowledge employed or is using external organizations for that. Like a startup company, for example, doesn't have a huge accounting organization or department, but is using external partners to help them with accounting. So even a smaller company needs some systemic approach when they are changing their own game, using new technologies, and so on and so on. So it's always a systemic effect when you try to adopt new technologies, especially in bigger corporations. It has a systemic, like talking about, it's affecting the whole superorganism of this corporation. And if you do not align the people behind that new flag that you are trying to help here, then you won't succeed with the new project, with the new technology, with this new transformation idea, with this innovation. You won't succeed. And that is why you need to firstly establish some, even from a psychological aspect, some systemic ideas like communication, internal communication. You need to prepare the people that they do not get blockades immediately when you're talking about this new idea. So first, before you do this, you need to very sensitively, and there we talk about the EQ again, establish some strategy, even communication strategy within this organization for this change. And you need to have techniques to open people. And that is exactly what you do in this systemic approach. Systemic means it is going through many departments. It's affecting many people, because you are changing just one wheel here, a small one maybe, but this has effect on all the other wheels in this machinery, right?
Yes. Thank you very much for explaining. And I have another question. I believe that the fastest and the most effective way to connect with people is by sharing your values with them. So my question is, what are your main values in your life? What do you value the most?
Honestly,
yes.
Honestly, I didn't expect such a question, So the honest answer to that is unconditional love. It's very strong, and many people can't deal and handle this this topic or term. I'd say over the last 3 years, I learned what that means. Unconditional love is the basis for harmony within your family, within your business, within the employees of your business, and everything. And from unconditional love, you know that this person has another viewpoint on many topics. So if you want to align to this person and harmonize even on energy levels, so if you want to, can I say, in tune with their vibes and vibrations, then you need to be unconditionally with what you do. If you want to, as a manager, not talking as a manager, as a leader, if you want to act as a leader, you need to open these people and to establish a trustful relationship where even if they have different viewpoints on many things, that you accept that they have different viewpoints, and that you have an open discussion. And from here, you explain why you are thinking in this way, and you think that the way you steer the company in this and that direction, or why you set such goals and objectives for this department or whatsoever, that you need to explain it, but you need to be open to criticism. You need to be open to other viewpoints. And then from there, you need to consider that your way is not maybe the right way for this person.
Yeah.
Because this person has other experience and might succeed on a totally different pathway to reach the same objective than you think he should do. And this is unconditionally, even when you are a leader and you have a team. And of course, if you give it a try and you see it's a dead end road, of course you need to steer again, but you at least should give every person the chance to go the way where a person believes it's the best way to go. And you need to align, of course, the objectives you have, and again, by the systemic pyramid of aligning the personal vision of life with the, let's say, department vision or the objectives of the corporation or of your company.
That's interesting. Thank you very much. And how do you think, what does it take, or how to achieve this state of unconditional love? It's
only if you love yourself.
Okay.
So there's no other way. And what does it mean? Oh, this is a journey. If you start thinking about self-love, it is a journey. It's nothing that you just have by knowing about it or using just one technique a day. It has to do with many habits every day. It has to do with reprogramming your brain, because your thinking is steering your emotions. Like if you think about a very beloved person in your life who died, of course you are thinking about this. And if I guide you into this thinking, I'm steering your thinking in this right moment. And suddenly you feel these emotions of this situation. If you just close your eyes and go into this emotion, you feel sad because you're going in the past, and that is always what happens. And if I give you another picture, you think about 5 years old kids, like 10 kids playing in a super funny, I don't know, McDonald's playground, where you have these softballs and they are jumping in that and throwing all the balls around and everything. You automatically smile, and you see your thinking is giving you pictures in your brain, and this is steering your emotions immediately. On the one hand side, it could be fun, it could be smiling. On the other hand side, it could be. So self-love has to do with getting knowledge about all these things and training to say no, what is not good for you. But the first thing is to get control over your thinking and your emotions. It's always the first step. And if you are there, from there, you can focus more and more on what is good for me. This is the second step. What is good for me? What will I do and what will I not do in the future?
Yeah.
And this what will I do is the question, does it feel good? And for this, you need a connection to your own inner being.
Yes.
Otherwise, you won't feel, is it good for me or not? But from there, you accept that not a calculation is the best way to decide what is good for you, but your feeling is a good idea of deciding what is good for you and which way I go tomorrow or today, what I choose. Yeah.
Where do you think a good place to start is to get on the path or the journey towards self-love? What would be a good start in your opinion?
Hearing it the first time that this is the basis for happiness, the basis for success, the basis for good relationships, the basis for everything. If you hear it the first time, even the term self-love, what does it really mean? The Bible, for example, says, love other people like you love yourself. But the problem is the people do not love themselves. Now, how can they love others? So it's always that we first need to increase self-love to be able to let other people be as they are and to love them as well on an unconditional way. There's no other chance. So where to start talking about it? Getting consciously that self-love has an impact on your life. If you do not hear about it, where should you start? So the first thing is consciously knowing about this topic, like listening to such a podcast. When we talk about it and others see that, this has impact immediately on people. That was one of your pre-interview questions, right? So what is the biggest impact or something like that? And I mentioned whoever gets in touch with me has a systemic effect.
Yeah. Yes, I have a question about depression.
Okay.
Depression seems to be the most frequent thing which is happening currently to people or with people all over the world. So what is depression from the energetic point of view? How do you think?
Very simple. You are depressing something. The question is what? I know people who run to psychological therapists for months and years. And that's, of course, good for the system.
Of course. It feeds the system, yeah.
No, it's good for the system. But on a systemic approach, it's pretty bad because you are constantly depressing, or you are still depressing something. So the question is how you get access to this topic that you are depressing. And sometimes it has to do with your childhood. Sometimes it's on a soul level and much deeper. And on this level, you only get it with energy healing topics. You never succeed if you are going into psychological therapies. Thank you. Yes. And funnily, there was an association of psychologists in the United States. Interesting. Yeah. So they, 10 years back, they claimed to be the ones who can heal everything. And I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, they had an official document being published saying, excuse me, this psychological association of psychological therapists and many professors in psychology, they excused to the market, or they said to the market, excuse me, in an official document that was published, that we claim to be the healers as well on other levels and frequencies. And they excused and said, so I am sorry, because there is more than just psychological therapy. And we give the soul level back to, for example, churches and religions, and to say so, even energy healers. We give it back because we are not the ones who can heal that. But I need to look up a term. I don't know I don't have this term in English, but I can explain. In every church in Germany, you have kind of this soul not healing. They do not call it soul healing, because in Germany, soul healing is a topic that nobody is talking about, right? So it is kind of a black book or black box. And but like priests in churches, they have this, they claim to be the ones who can help you on soul levels, right? Can help you on soul levels. There's a special term for that. I don't know in English, sorry. But yeah, as I mentioned again, not everything is, when we talk about depression, not every depression has to do with the psychology of your childhood. It can be even deeper on a soul level, and that needs to be excavated. It needs to be excavated. And so if you do not succeed with psychological therapy when you are in a depression or a friend is in a depression, you should change again, of course. Be like a child in your whole life is like testing new things. And so if you see one thing doesn't work, try another thing. And as often as possible in your whole life, the rest of your life, then you will be happy like a child even when you are 80 years old, right? So that's
okay, thank you very much. And I have another question. What is your mission? Could you share with us, please?
The mission. I have different missions and I'm constantly changing the mission.
But
so my mission, yeah, so I have two missions, like my private mission and the business mission, right?
Yes.
So what should I start with?
It's up to you.
Okay, then let's start with the business mission, because I'm mainly focusing on my business at the moment. So my business mission is to helping people seeing the world. Okay, that is really, but I say it because it's in my thoughts at the moment. Seeing the world with the eyes of children. So in the business world, my mission is to get to know that everything we do in every hour, even in business, needs to be aligned to our happiness, our passion, our vision for our life. If you are talking about the Maslow pyramid of motivation, it should be aligned to your transcendental
level
ideas of your future, and even what is when you leave the earth, right? What will it be then for your children and everything? So it should be in alignment to this, in harmonization of that. This is my mission, to help the people getting this in their conscious, on their conscious level, to know more about these things, and to focus more on these things, instead of I need another certificate to get a better job, or to be able to change the company and blah blah blah. That's honestly, sometimes it's important, but very often the motivation factors behind that are really the wrong motivational factors. So this is my mission in the business world. And if I can do it by talking about digital transformation and the harmonization of technology and humans, which is a slogan on my Enaliss website. Enaliss, like technology and humans harmonized. This is what I'm putting there. This mission is really to help them thinking more about the human factor of any digital transformation. This is really my mission there, and how to motivate and set energies in the right direction of your own business view and business objectives and vision. And there are techniques to really motivate the people, the whole organization, the superorganism, on a systemic way into this new era of digitalization. So this is my business mission, and privately, of course, to heal as many people who get in touch with me as possible, talking especially about my soul family. I hope to meet everyone who is somehow aligned to me, whether I know it today or not, to meet as many people in this life as possible who have some connection to me, on a soul level. You can name it soul and family, if there's such a thing. Answering your question again, I do not know whether there are different souls or we are just part of one big thing. But yeah, to meet as many people and help them healing. Yeah,
that's great. Okay. Thank you. And I have a few questions more. So my question is, could you share with us the story of your journey when you experienced the biggest aha moment?
So my journey, talking about the last 3 years mainly, right?
Maybe so last 3 years, or maybe again, it's up to you. It's
your journey.
Okay. Interesting. And so, and can you ask the question again, please?
Yes.
So, what was the biggest aha moment of
your journey?
In general.
In general, it could be 3 last years, or maybe 10, or maybe I don't know how old are you. It's up to you.
I think, and I feel both, that the biggest aha moment was that it is possible to get in connection with one person that you are loving very deeply, that you are constantly in tune with this person, that you do not need to be connected on a telephone or via any smart device, but just you can connect to people on a telepathy level, that you are constantly feeling this person. There are 3, I have these terms, I wrote them down, I don't have it here. Interesting, I need to look it up. There are 3 different terms, special terms on superpowers of so there are 3 ways of knowing the future or being able to feel the future. Yes. So my talent is feeling the future or feeling other people.
Yes.
There's a special term, like, because it's above this world topics. It's when I feel that one person is thinking of me and needs help, and I get this information on this frequency, and I get this, then I feel this.
Yes.
But there are other people who can hear this, and there are other people who can see this.
Yes.
So there are 3 types of these talents. So one is seeing pictures suddenly, and they see immediately there's an accident of this person, blah blah blah. This is this weird thing what you sometimes see in television, in some series, that there are such talents who have such a talent, who see things that will happen or just are happening, and then police departments maybe go there or whatsoever. So there's a second one where you get information, you can hear that suddenly. And the third one is you feel, and I feel frequency. So that is my talent. I feel it. So with this person, the biggest aha moment, it was that we do not need to phone anymore, because I feel what she's thinking about. I feel in which situation I was in such situation. Later on, I learned to set fences myself because it was too much. I felt in which situations she was. I felt even her feelings. Like I knew in which situation she was. With one situation, it was that she had a fight and was really nervous about her husband. And I felt that immediately, and I contacted her to help her out the situation, and to be there for her, and all these things. And this was the biggest aha moment, that when I had this information, and this information was coming to me, and I felt this information, and in my brain I could immediately bring this and transform this information into a picture, and to be consciously in the whole situation. So I had many proof points that this was exactly the situation, and that I was exactly feeling her thoughts. For example, it was one night when I woke up and she was in a thinking process over hours, and I just wrote down what she was thinking. I wrote it down, wrote it down, wrote it down. It was like unbelievable long paper, and I just wrote it down, and then in the morning I sent it over to her, and the only comment was, "Okay." That was all she said to that. She was she couldn't believe that I was so connected to her. That was crazy. Yeah.
So my question is, you said that from time to time it's just too much of this feeling
Yes.
other person. So how did you learn how to protect yourself from this? Or sometimes it's not even about protection. Sometimes I better not know this, right?
Absolutely.
So
Funnily, I had one situation where I got real pictures. So I had this other talent suddenly in one situation with another person, where I really got a picture that was so bad for me to get this picture that I, in this situation, started immediately to train myself on setting fences, even on an energetic level, energetical fences around me, not to get too much information from the outside. So there are many techniques. One technique is just that, do you really want to know the techniques that I'm using, or do you know what I do, or do you?
no, I don't know what you do. I just I have, I think, the same talent, and I know that sometimes it's just too much, and
Yes.
just to protect yourself. So I'm just wondering, what do you do?
So okay. So there are many many informations in the internet, and you will find the right information that is the best technique for you yourself that you can use. Because when you find other information in the internet today than when I use. So we always find in the internet the information that is the best information in this situation on your training level you have when you are just making some research on that in the internet. But what I did is I made the beginning was that I learned about these things, that I learned that I was losing energy to some people as well.
Yeah.
So then I talked to some people about that, and one friend of mine knew a lot about these things. So she helped me with these topics and motivated me to learn more about it, because she knew I have this talent. But I didn't know. That was 3.5 years ago. But she saw that I'm losing energy from another person, and then she talked about this term energy vampires. And that was the first time I was in contact with such information. And I searched in the internet for energy vampires and how to defend myself against energy vampires. And then I got different techniques that I used. And today my healing capabilities are always combined from my heart chakra through my inner hand, because the heart chakra and inner hand is connected. And this is the chakra you can feel here, even if you are very well connected to your own heart, talking about unconditional love for yourself as well. And you can just say, please give me unconditional love to myself. And then please give me a good connection to my heart. And then this heart chakra is vibrating stronger. It's immediately you have, on an energetic level, you have a stronger focus here. And then you feel the vibrations even in your hand. And with these, if you do this, you can set fences. Not only you can heal others with your hand and these energies, but you can set these fences around yourself, like doing this. Like you can like a
shield, or
like a shield, a round shield about yourself. You can set that, and you always speak while you are doing that, because with your speech you are manifesting what you are doing here. And you can set such shields by just doing and using these techniques that you may use as a healer for others, you can use for yourself as well. But you need to do this. And the other way is, of course, what I do when I'm in contact with one person who is trying to get my energy, even today. And sometimes I feel the negative or the sadness and things, and I feel it in my heart. And if I feel it, this is not for me. I know that immediately. And I just take this energy, I just take it and throw it away in the direction of this person. And when I know the direction, I throw it away and I say, stop. And I try to get this negative energy out of myself as well, to bring it back. And I really do this. This is what I do. And bring this back to this person, because I know that this person needs the pain as well to change.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need it. I had this situation 3 years ago. I don't need it anymore. But this person who tries to put it on me shouldn't do it. So this person needs it herself or himself. So I'm just giving it back, because this pain helps this person to change. It's a bit tough, I know, but it's the only way to defend yourself.
Yeah.
So set fences on an energetic level. There are different techniques. You can find it in the internet. Set fences where necessary, even orally, when you are in direct contact with persons. When you see it's going too far, say, stop, sorry, no, this is going too far, and leave the room. This is, for example, what I regularly do as well. If a situation is getting too much for me, I just say, sorry, I need a break, and I leave the room. I just go, or I leave the house, depending on the situation. I had this situation several times with my wife as well. And I'm just leaving, because there's no time in this life for such negativity.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and your talents with us. And maybe there is something we didn't ask you about, but you would like to share today with us and our listeners. So you're welcome to do this. Do you have something else?
Yeah. Main thing is, honestly, I can be found in the internet, because during this transformation, my own transformation over the last almost 4 years, 3.5 years, I changed myself and opened myself to the world, honestly. So I'm fine with being connected to everyone out there today. And if there are questions, I do not know a lot about your audience, honestly. So I invite everyone to just contact me if there are any questions, and if I hit some points at a person where this person says, well, I have another question that was giving me some new things, thoughts that I never had before, and I need to ask 2-3 more questions in a special topic, talking about relationships, business, family, whatsoever. I'm open to that. So I do not know much about your audience. Maybe you can give me some information right now about your audience. That would be nice.
Our audience is there are very different people in our audience. They're coaches, they're inventors, they're people in the virtual reality business. But what unites these people, that they have this systemic approach to their life. So these people who unite both ways, emotions and soul and sharp intellect, I would say.
Nice.
Yes. Okay. Then thank you very much for your time and such a great interview. Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah.
Happy weekend. Happy week. Enjoy your life as well.
Yes, we will.